Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm 5 News Chief Meteorologist Skot Covert. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning, first one of the evening. This one includes portions of Crawford and Sebastian counties. Right now, we do have a strong thunderstorm that's been pulsing up over the last several minutes, currently moving through the east side of Fort Smith, Van Buren, Kibler, Barling, really the area that's going to experience the severe portion of this storm. Right now, it's going to be Kibler, Barling, eventually over into Lavaca. It's going to be along the leading edge of this storm. We're looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds, potentially some 1-inch in diameter hail. We did see a report out of Roland a few moments ago in which that hail was down to just about pea size in nature. So probably not meeting that threshold of 1 inch in diameter, but certainly some gusty winds. That's more than likely going to be along the leading edge of this storm. Barling up through Kibler, perhaps even into Alma, though Alma not technically in this severe thunderstorm warning. The warning itself is set to expire at 10 o'clock this evening. We'll take some of that data off there, make that picture a little bit easier to understand. The warning itself goes all the way over to the Franklin-Sebastian County line, stops right there. But if you live anywhere, let's say the Kibler through Barling back towards Lavaca, anywhere along State Highway 22, you are included in this severe thunderstorm warning. Heavy rain continues in Fort Smith and Van Buren. That portion of the storm, not necessarily the area of most concern right now. You can see a couple of pockets of that purple right there. This is going to be the area in which we could see some of that hail begin to materialize. Again, right now, reports indicate it's probably around pea to nickel size in diameter. But if this storm is to meet its fullest potential, perhaps we're up to about 1 inch, which is the size of a quarter, right? 60-mile-per-hour straight line winds could potentially also be coming out of this cell. We'll take a look into the rotation. At times, this cell has had some signs of rotation. I'm not seeing that right now. Certainly a good signal of some gusty winds coming out of the leading edge of that cell. In fact, we'll get some numbers here for you to put on the screen just to get an idea of what radar sees. Obviously, we're pretty close to the Doppler radar site. Those numbers, not all impressive in of itself, but that's not to say that they couldn't become a bit gustier as that storm continues pushing off towards the east. I'll tell you, this storm has been moving relatively slowly. Speeds on this have been right around 20 to 25 miles per hour. The latest track on it keeps it moving east there at 25 miles per hour. I'll put a track on that to give you an idea of when that would bring this storm into your neck of the woods. As we draw that track from Barling through Kibler off towards the east, that gives us some ETAs of this. It's going to be the Lavaca at 9:46, Bethel Church there at 9:52, Ursula at 9:57, Vesta, if that continues over into Franklin County, right at 10 o'clock. Winds are going to be the primary concern with the specific cell. Right now, you can kind of see the leading edge of that cell. It's just the only one that's severe at the moment. There are some other scattered showers and thunderstorms around the area, but this is the one that's producing the breezy winds. Looks like there might even be a little bit of power outages now starting to come into the system, which tells us maybe those winds are in fact actually making it to the ground quick enough. Now, sometimes power outages can be a result of lightning, which we know lightning necessarily isn't severe in of itself, and oftentimes this time of the year the ground's pretty saturated and maybe those winds aren't actually peaking all the way up to severe limits, but there's enough given the wet ground that you can topple over some trees and that inevitably falls on a power line. All just different potential options or reasons why we may be seeing some power outages that may not be directly 60-mile-per-hour winds or greater. That's what the warning is including, though. We're talking southern Crawford, northern Sebastian County included in this warning. Obviously, you can see here Fort Smith is now on the back side of the cell. Looks like we're going to continue to see some rain out there. But this one cell now pushing ever so slowly closer and closer towards Lavaca. That's the one that's going to be the one that's severe thunderstorm warned. If you're just not catching us on the stream, let's go ahead and do an area-wide reset. We do have other showers moving through the area. Some scattered light rain continues across Washington, even into portions of Crawford. Some additional scattered showers behind this one in Sequoia and even LaFleur counties. Starting to see some scattered thunderstorms now moving into western Franklin County as well. I'll tell you, though, there's not a lot of activity out there. It's really just this one cell, and this is the same one we've been watching for really quite some time. It is slowly been making its way into our neck of the woods off from the west. Barling, Central City, Lavaca, here's Kibler, here's Alma. I would really be mindful of folks there in the river bottoms, right there on the county line. That's probably where we're going to have the strongest of winds, should they actually be making it to the ground. You also can find some pockets of those purple areas there, those little purple colors. That's where minimally the rain's really heavy. But there's also very well could be some hail embedded within that cell as well. That's all tracking towards the east, running almost due east. Now, Charleston, Ursula, Vesta, Ozark, Chalksville, not currently in the warning. Right now, the warning is set to expire at 10 o'clock. And given how slow this cell is moving, we'll probably be tracking it for quite some time unless it begins to pulse down, which would be great news. If it pulses down, starts to weaken, Weather Service, of course, will drop that warning early. Right now, they're going to keep it running until about 10 o'clock. So we'll continue with you here tracking this right now. Let's do this. I do have some cameras in the area that we can take a look at. The first of which is going to be our ACHE camera. This is going to be south side of Fort Smith. I believe I actually have it pointed off towards the west, but I can spin it around pretty easily into that cell. Obviously, you can still continue to see the rain that's continuing pretty heavy there as we look off towards the west. When I spin that around, if there's much lightning at all, we'll be able to kind of get a good picture of that. I hope that didn't make you a little seasick. Sometimes that can do that. Rain's continuing. Looks quite breezy out there as well. Kind of the rain whipping those raindrops around. Not seeing as much lightning there off towards the east as I expected to see, which could be some good news for us. Let's see, what else can I pull up here? This Ozark camera is pointed off towards the southwest into that cell. Okay, a little bit of lightning there. Here's the river. Here's towards the west. So you're kind of looking over in that general vicinity. I've got a little bit more spin. I can turn that thing around just a little bit more. Overlooking towards Manitou Mountain right here. So, okay, yeah, we're getting a pretty good view into that cell. That one may be the leading edge. That's probably the cell that's actually moving in out of the Mulberry area, which is probably not the one that's actually severe warned, although Mulberry is certainly going to be included in this warning. Well, south side of town is anyways. Warning right now, and does include Barling, Fort Smith, Lavaca, Van Buren, Central City, Kibler, Lavaca. I'll pause this right now. I'll take some of this data off so you have a better view of where this thing's moving. Bloomer, popping up on the map there, also included. Riverdale, right there along 96 and 22. You're also included in this storm. And maybe it's picking up a little bit of speed. That latest scan tracking a little bit further towards the east than where we were. That hail core may be starting to come up just a little bit, just to the south of Kibler there. We very well could be seeing a few hailstones mixing in with that cell. We'll take a look at the hail product. And it is detecting some hail there. How big is it? The radar is right now estimating maximum size right around the size of quarters, just to the south of Kibler. North of Barling, so we're running right in the river bottoms right there. Warning has now been updated. You can see that Van Buren, at least parts of Van Buren, a good chunk of Fort Smith, no longer included in this severe thunderstorm warning, although we maintain it for Barling, Lavaca, at Bloomer, Kibler, and that's going to continue at least through 10 o'clock. At this point, maybe the storm might be speeding up, which would be some good news for us, but I'll tell you, it's not really showing any signs of weakening over the last few minutes. So at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised to see a downstream warning for Franklin issued unless this thing does pulse down here real quickly. We'll go in a little bit closer as to where that hail core is right now and see if we can't put some roads and some local landmarks on here just to give you an idea. So here's the Newtown community. Here's Westville right here. Westville Road, of course, Thornhill Place, Thornhill Street right here, Arnold Road, Alma Drive. So really going to be on Thornhill and Arnold right there. If that hail is to be mixing in, that is probably where it's actually going to be. Let me do one thing here. I think there's some audio issues over on Facebook. Got some of your text messages there. We have the best folks behind the scenes. I'm confident they're working to fix it. I'm going to keep tracking the storm. Of course, you can always find us on 5 News, your app. And of course, I think the audio, of course, is going to be working there. And then over on 5 Plus, and that should be a good spot to find us. Here's our current warning. It's just this one cell, this one pesky cell. The chances of severe weather were low this evening, but they weren't zero. And this one cell certainly proving just that. Looks like the Weather Service sending some information to us. Hopefully we can pass those along to you here real soon. I do think there's probably a little bit of hail. Some of that is moving from Kibler through Lavaca. We're going a little bit closer right here. I'm going to pause. Right here is Lavaca, of course. Here's Highway 96 that runs up towards the Riverdale community. Right here in the river bottoms, that's where you would expect that hail core to be. You find those purples right there. If we see any hail, that's probably where it's actually at. I think winds might actually be a bigger concern for us. We look into the winds as what the radar sees, and you'll notice just to the south of Kibler, a little pocket of wind right there. That's probably going to be some breezy straight line winds pushing out of that on the leading edge. Lavaca, next in line for this storm. Barling, you're in the thick of it right now, but I think the worst is probably going to be passing you likely over the next several minutes. Give it just a little bit longer for that. We'll go ahead and take another track on this. This was moving east at about 25 miles per hour. So let me give you some estimated times of arrival based off of the latest data set that's just coming in. As that continues to push off towards the east, that would put it in Lavaca at 9:39. Current times 9:37. Union School 9:44. Let's say Bloomer 9:47, Ursula 9:51, not long after that, and Vesta at 9:53, downtown Charleston 10:03, Peter Pender there at 10:09. That's assuming it doesn't pulse up or pulse down. I'll tell you, it looks to be maintaining its strength right there. I'm still kind of continuing to see that hail core, a little bit of wind out there as well. Those are the two primary concerns. We've looked into the rotation tracker every so often, not quite seeing much in the way of rotation as of the latest several scans. There was some rotation way back in Oklahoma long before it got to our viewing area. Right now, though, the primary concern looks to be some damaging wind and a little bit of hail coming in right there on the Crawford-Sebastian County line. The hail core would be in this general vicinity. Of course, here's Central City, just for some context. Alma, since most of the storms on the south side of Alma, you might be hearing a little bit of thunder, and you're probably getting a little bit of rain, but the strongest part of that storm off to your south, and that's going to be riding close to Mulberry, although not technically included in the warning. The heaviest of activity is probably going to stay just to your south. This is almost moving due east. And you're really going to want to watch that Boeing segment on the leading edge of that line. That's where you probably could see some gusty winds coming out of that. And that wind potential certainly could increase with time. So I don't think this is necessarily going away immediately as much as I would hope for it to. It does look like it's going to continue to be a problem for us over the next several minutes, if not hour or two. It's not moving very fast, only at about 25 or so miles per hour, which is also going to dump a little bit of water out there. You'll probably get some heavy rainfall through these areas, not enough to produce widespread flash flooding, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some localized area of some localized street flooding, you know, those areas that are often prone to it. You get those low-lying areas, poor drainage, you know those spots I'm talking about. If you got one, you know exactly, and that's probably what's going to happen. And then, of course, you've got some scattered showers on the backside of this system as well. Those are not severe, and I wouldn't really suspect those to become severe. I can't entirely rule it out, but I'll tell you, this is probably going to be the one that is going to be of issue for us continuing through southern Franklin County. Let's do this. Let's loop it over the last hour. As you loop that over the last hour, that puts it right now moving through Lavaca, the heaviest of which, starting to see an increase in lightning there. That's something that we hadn't seen a lot of, at least from radar presentation. These cloud to ground strikes here running just near Lavaca. That's almost coming up to the edge of the warning boundary. Here's the Franklin-Sebastian County line. I suspect we'll more than likely be getting a new additional warning as this one approaches. We'll probably need to give some folks a heads up into Franklin County relatively soon. That would be coming out of the Weather Service in Tulsa. I suspect they're drawing it up and getting ready to push that out. The storm hasn't weakened enough to let a warning expire or not continue it downstream. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we don't see a new one coming up here real soon. I think it may be actually speeding up just a bit based off of the latest presentation there. Yeah, okay, we were at 25, we're now up to 30. Not a big difference, but certainly a little bit more forward momentum with that. There is a bit of a boundary running in through that area, so storm's probably going to continue to follow it and is going to keep some severe weather potential with this cell. Now there's other activity towards the north. This is moving through Pleasant View and Mulberry, extending up towards White Rock. That's not severe. It's a good old heavy thunder shower, not actually severe. This is the only severe thunderstorm warning we've got closing in on the Sebastian-Franklin County line. Let's say between almost up towards Mulberry, back down towards Charleston. That cell will continue pushing over the next several minutes off towards the east there. Scattered activity behind it. Not too worried about that. If the rain's continuing for you in Pensacola, Fort Smith, some in Van Buren, some back towards Muldrow, Moffett Bottoms, that's not the severe part of this storm. It's this one right here. We'll take another look into the winds. I just want to stay on top of any potential rotation, and I'm not really seeing much there, if anything at all. Just not finding those big pronounced colors that you would expect to see. Certainly a good burst of some straight line winds, more than likely right there along the river. It's going to be north of Lavaca. You're probably seeing that with this specific cell coming through. Right now, though, when you look at the hail, that looks to probably be the bigger concern. You'll notice that hail track has been running almost due east. You probably saw a little bit coming through the Fort Smith area that pushed off towards the east, crossing 59, crossing the Arkansas River, almost running parallel with it. Now we're getting into that Frog Bayou area. That's probably where some hail might be falling right now. That's going to continue tracking closer and closer to the Vesta community and inevitably right there along 215. Okay, there's our new severe thunderstorm warning. That is going to include a good chunk of Franklin County. So let's go back to this. Yep, a large chunk of southern Franklin County now included in this new severe thunderstorm warning. So that would include places like Vesta and Cecil and Peter Pender, Etna, Charleston, Calksville. That warning itself is going to expire. It's going to be after 10 o'clock for sure. 10:30. Yeah, it's about 45 more minutes with that specific cell. Here's what's going to happen though. At 10 o'clock, we're going to fire up the Channel 5 newscast news at 10. We'll do a little bit of news and we'll track this kind of in between unless something goes tornado warned. And well, I can't entirely rule that out. It's not expected to necessarily happen. There hasn't been a lot of rotation since this thing got into our neck of the woods. We do see some gusty winds coming out of it. That's probably going to be a real reality for us going into western Franklin County. Let's say if you live anywhere along here, 215, 217, Lavaca's probably still got some, it doesn't probably, Lavaca definitively still has some good heavy rains. That hail core may be coming down just a bit. That would be some good news for us. At one point, there was about quarter-size hail, which is about 1 inch in diameter. That was going to be the primary concern for us going into with that specific cell at one moment. Maybe this is starting to transition over into more of a wind potential. Let's see if that holds. Sometimes these things pulse up and pulse down. That's a pretty normal part of their life cycle. New severe thunderstorm warning, in case you just missed it. This one now includes portions of eastern Sebastian, far eastern Sebastian. It really overlaps with the old warning. So this little sliver right here, but really the big new addition is extending it well into Franklin County. It does not include Ozark. Pretty much stops there at the Arkansas River, traveling south along 23, west on 22 or 96 there. That's going to put you in the path of that severe thunderstorm warning. Moving right now due east. Their latest track on that continues its speed at, let's see here, up to 35 miles per hour. So it is actually picking up a little bit of speed, which is really great news. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean it's not going to be severe, but it does mean maybe we can get it out of here a little bit quicker. This is a 3-hour loop. Let me back that up just a 1-hour loop so you can see the general trajectory of the specific cell. Right here, you'll notice that it is quickly racing off towards the east. We're almost done with things in Crawford and Sebastian counties. You'll continue to have some heavy rain and certainly some gusty winds over the next several minutes, but the northern flank of that cell has now moved into Franklin County. There is a bit of a northeast-southwest orientation with that Boeing segment, so that's going to keep some of those heavy showers and probably some lightning and some thunder in northern Sebastian County. We're talking Lavaca, Barling area. Of course, you've got this scatter stuff. I'm keeping an eye on it on the backside, but it really looks to be this one Boeing segment that does have that potential to produce some damaging winds, a little bit of hail. The good news is, as it speeds up, that's going to help mitigate that flash flood potential we were just talking about. Quicker we can get it out of there, less amount of rain we're going to dump into one small area over a short amount of time. That's the good news for us. We'll take another look into our velocity. I just want to check those winds, make sure nothing's trying to spin up out there. Not really seeing anything that's necessarily super pronounced with that. We can look at that hail track and you can see it's just running due east, and that at one point was potentially producing about quarter-size hail in Kibler. I don't think that's the case right now. Some of the trends are a little bit lower, perhaps a little bit of a hail core developing here west Franklin County, right there along I-40. That's probably close to Pleasant View area out there. That's almost tracking due east as well. We'll have to watch that northern flank to make sure nothing tries to pulse up there. Right now, it's some really low returns. That's pea-size likely at best. But it does appear that eastern Sebastian County, as you close in on that Franklin County line, if there were to be any hail right now, that's probably where it would actually be. Let's go in closer once more. We're going to go really uptight and personal with this Pacific cell. Here's 96, just to the east of Lavaca, not far from Vesta. You kind of find some of those little purple colors there. That's the radar more than likely indicating some pockets of some hail mixing in with what's clearly some heavy rain at times. Here's Military Road right here on the east side of Lavaca. That's where we can continue to find some heavy rain. At times, maybe some breezy winds in there as well. Let's zoom out just a little bit. Ursula, Bloomer, Charleston now also included in this new severe thunderstorm warning. That runs till 10:30. I don't think the threat for those areas are going to last that long. I do think the further east into Franklin County you go, the threat probably will. Certainly some good soaking downpours as this storm continues to push off towards the east. Right now, the warning itself includes the potential for up to 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1 inch in diameter hail. That warning includes Barling, Bloomer, Kibler, Lavaca. That was going to be the first one, which will fall off the map here in about 11 minutes, right there at 10 o'clock. The new warning, and what I'll do is I'll bump this one over. The new warning does include Altus, Bloomer, Alex, Charleston, let's say Vesta, Etna, Peter Pender, Ursula, Cecil area there. We're still looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds, 1 inch in diameter hail. It's getting closer to the Charleston community. It's getting closer to Peter Pender there, the leading edge of it. The leading edge is where you would probably find the gusty straight line winds. And then not long after that is where you start to see that rain pick up. And then, of course, in the middle of that downdraft, there's probably going to be a lot of heavy rain mixing in with some hail at times. It may not all be hail here, but certainly there appears to be some. Not finding a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning, but there's a few strikes out there within that system that's now pretty much hugging the county line, Sebastian into Franklin County. Moving at 35 miles per hour towards the east. So we're picking up a little bit of speed. That's the good news for us. It's going to mitigate that flash flood threat, but unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily mitigate the hail and the potential for some 60-mile-per-hour winds with that specific cell. Let's do this. Let's put a new estimated time of arrival on that. Maybe some folks are just now tuning in. We're, of course, live on 5+. We are live on our free mobile app. I think we might have a Facebook issue or two. I'm hoping that gets resolved here real soon. The fact is, there ain't just nothing I can do about it right now. So I'm going to let the folks that can handle that. Ursula at 9:50, Cecil 9:54, downtown Charleston right at 10 o'clock. Peter Pender there not too long after, right around 10:02. Meg at 10:03. How about Branch? 10:06. Etna, winds are probably going to pick up for our friends there at 10:09. Eventually that crosses over into the Altus community around 10:10. Downtown Ozark 10:11. Denning 10:13. Alex at 10:16. Coal Hill, expect this storm, unless it weakens, to get to your area around 10:20. So you got, let's say, 30 or so more minutes to go with the forward flank of that specific cell. Of course, there is a bit of a northeast, southwest orientation. So folks on the northern flank and the path of that going to get in on the action a little bit earlier as the southern flank sags a little bit deeper into northeastern Sebastian County. Fort Chaffee still seeing some good soaking rain. You're technically in that severe thunderstorm warning. That one's again going to expire here in about 9 minutes at the top of the hour. Here's Lavaca, Central City, Bloomer. Good strong downpour continues. The winds are probably breezy for you folks there as well. We'll go up a little bit further towards the north and east, working our way up and down that line. Mulberry's not included in either of these warnings, but you've got a strong storm moving through. It's going to be close to your neck of the woods. Ozark's not included in this warning. Cravens, Waterloo, Cass not included in that warning as well. Strongest part likely right now on top of Highway 215. in 217 there, western Franklin County. That is going to be traveling almost due east with 96. That'll, of course, take you into the Cecil community. If you live up and down 41, that's not going to be too much longer for you folks there, in which that cell is going to be bringing some winds, probably a little bit of hail as well. Let's go back and look at the hail tracker with this, and you can see that hail core at times potentially producing, let's see, let me pause it. Right now it's saying about penny-size hail. Let's hope that continues going down. It was quarter size back here south of Kibler. You can see those blues there. That represents quarter-size hail not far from Kibler. We did get some pea-size hail reported to us from the Roland community. I would love it if that cell does not try to pulse up and produce anything more than penny-sized hail. It's just when you get to that 1-inch diameter, we're talking quarters, that's when you start to see the damage on your cars, on your roofs. We don't want really any of that. We've had plenty of that this year, and we're hoping to not get any more. Maybe a little bit of wind starting to pick up there north of Charleston. 41-mile-per-hour gust as seen on live radar, about a 38-mile-per-hour gust right there. And that, of course, is going to be right there along that leading edge, exactly where you would really expect it right there. That's continuing to push east. So soon that's going to be right on top of Highway 41. Branch are included in this severe thunderstorm warning set to expire at 10:30, as is Charleston, Altus, Cecil, Vesta. Clarksville, I think, is going to be just to the south of it, but if you live, generally speaking, in the Clarksville community, that severe storm is going to be tracking your direction. Let's do this. Let's take a little area-wide reset. Maybe you're just now finding our stream. We do have some scattered showers moving through portions of Washington and Madison counties. The one severe thunderstorm that we have is now crossing out of Sebastian into Franklin. That track would take it over into portions of northern Logan, southern Johnson County, assuming it makes it that far. There, of course, is some scattered activity back into portions of LaFleur and Sequoia County. And then if you want to look even further out west, there's still some additional showers there. Those very well could track our direction. Severe weather odds this evening were quite low, but as we said, they weren't zero, and that's kind of what we've seen materialize out there this evening. And it is just this one cell. It's just this one cell that's pulsing up and causing us some problems. Straight line winds, perhaps a little bit of hail going to be your primary concern. I kind of keep looking at those winds to see if they're not trying to come back up. We did see 40-ish mile-per-hour wind detected by radar. Looks like that's probably not changed based off of just the visual presentation of that. We'll go ahead and look in here, 43. So we're kind of still in that same ballpark, 44 there. When we look at the hail tracker, let's see if anything's changed there. Perhaps a little bit of hail still coming out of this just to the north of Charleston. That's going to be about penny-size hail, if any at all. And that's going to be right on top of Vesta right now. Soon that cell, that hail, if it is falling, is going to move over towards Peter Pender right there up and down 41. So if you live along 41, anywhere near Peter Pender, you're minimally going to get some heavy rain very soon. Just ask your neighbors in Vesta. You may very well get a little bit of hail as well. You see that purple right there? That's probably exactly where that's going to be falling. And that's going to be continuing to track off towards the east. Cecil, of course, getting in on the rain right now. It's going to pick up in intensity. Give it about 2 to 3 more minutes, and that rain's going to get a little bit heavier and a little bit louder, and you'll probably see the winds pick up there as well. It would be the leading edge of this line between Charleston now and Cecil. That's where you would find those stronger winds. The warning itself takes that potential up to 60 miles per hour. I'm hoping this storm isn't meeting its fullest potential. Radar would indicate that it's around 40 to 50 right now at the ground level. Let's hope that that doesn't actually pick up, but it is a real possibility as this storm continues to track off towards the east. Branch included in this severe thunderstorm warning as well. Altus, Alex, Denning also included. Johnson and Logan County aren't yet, but I suspect the Weather Service out of Little Rock is probably watching this cell really closely. Has been picking up a little bit of speed. The severe storm itself now entirely in Franklin County. I know you've still got some rain, rain that extends back towards, let's say, Hackett and Greenwood. Barling, Lavaca, you're still seeing some moderate to heavy rain, but that's not from the storm that actually sparked or prompted this severe thunderstorm warning. It's this booger right here that's pretty much now crossed entirely out of Sebastian and Crawford into just southern Franklin County, all south of Interstate 40, moving due east. Rain is heavy along I-40, but that's not necessarily the severe warned portion of the cell. The Franklin County warning is going to run until 10:30. Right now, it's not weakening. Hey, I'll talk to you, Mike, a little bit. I'll talk to producer Mike and Darren. Let's just start the 10 o'clock newscast as normal. I think that's totally fine. and we'll track this cell within in the newscast. Okay. All good for you? Cool. If you are on our stream here, of course, you know we've got the 10 o'clock newscast coming up. This isn't tornado warned. I've not seen really hardly any rotation at all, so I feel pretty comfortable going ahead and starting our 10 o'clock newscast. Look, if something changes and we get something trying to spin, we'll cover it full, very in-depth, just like we always do. Right now, though, I'm feeling okay about it. Winds may be coming up a bit in Peter Pender, north of Charleston. We'll go ahead and take a look. It's going to be, yeah, it's coming up to about 50 or so miles per hour. That's going to be right here along Arkansas 60, 50 or so miles per hour. Keep in mind, just a few minutes ago when we sampled that, that was around 43 or 44. So those winds certainly have a bit on the increase over the last several minutes. Let's see here. Let's go back out. Ooh, that was too far. Let's go back in. Some showers there. Going to the river valley. This is where we have that one severe thunderstorm warning. This one's going to fall off. You see this orange polygon? That does include a good chunk of Fort Smith, east side of Fort Smith, east of 540 there. That's going to fall off the map here in about 2 minutes, right at 10 o'clock. The severe aspect of that cell well out of Sebastian County at this point. Lightning may be coming up just a bit southern Franklin County. I do know we have a storm spotter in Ozark I was talking with a few minutes ago. Cannon Gage, he might be able to give us some insight. He actually had a really good vantage into that cell. Where he was earlier. I'll be checking for reports from him. Right now, the warning itself is going to continue, and this storm's not weakening. If anything, I'll tell you the winds may be coming up just a bit. That's a little bit of a concern to me. We're talking straight line winds, and it looks to be a bit of a pocket right there of winds right here. You see that brighter area of pinks there? I know it kind of looks a little pixelated there. That's going to be now east of Vesta, coming up on Peter Pender, eventually over in Etna. This cell very well could bring 50 to 60 or so mile per hour straight line winds. At times there have been a little bit of hail, but right now I'll tell you the one thing that is giving me a little more heartburn than anything else is probably going to be the winds. You can see that potential perhaps of penny or so size hail out of that cell. Let me sample this real quick. Pause it there. Yeah, penny size is what that's indicating outside of Vesta right now. Right here. Charleston, Vesta, Peter Pender, Etna, that's where the hail core could be coming. Winds are going to be your primary concern. Yeah, winds are right on top of Peter Pender right now. Look at that. Goodness gracious, it's picking up a little bit quicker. Branch to Peter Pender, that's probably where we've got some damaging winds, 50 to 60 mile per hour. Here's the thing. We're coming up on our 10 o'clock newscast here in about 90 seconds. At that point, we'll have to end the stream. We're going to go over to 5 News. You can still find us the same way you found us here. It's just going to be a new stream. It's just kind of the way the system works. I wish I could change it for us. I can't do it tonight. So when you see this stream end, just stay in the 5 News app, stay on 5 Plus. We'll be right back with continued coverage of this storm as well as a little bit of news out there as well. I'll take another look at the velocities. I'm curious if these winds have come up even more. Yeah, up to 50 or so miles per hour. So they are coming up. If you're at Etna, I'd even say Calksville, while technically not in the warning, you're close enough. Etna to Peter Pender, back over towards, let's say, Roseville, maybe even Alex Denning. You better want to be mindful of that cell. There's certainly some strong winds coming your direction. We're about 30 seconds away from our 10 o'clock newscast, so I'll go ahead. I'll zoom out. I'm going to leave you with that picture right there. I will see you guys over on the new stream coming up in now.